3 other cops in the George Floyd case have been charged with aiding and abetting a murder.
All right,
and Derrick Chauvin's charge is raised from 3rd to 2nd degree murder.
Good.
All now face 40-year terms.
Wow.
No, I'm not. Look, I think there's real questions about 2nd degree murder charge for Chauvin because apparently he knew the guy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's where it gets weird.
Exactly.
I mean,
he knew him.
So they haven't gone as far as say that he knew him, but they said that
the owner of the nightclub came out and said they both worked for me
for a year.
They were both security guards. She said she didn't see them interact, but she knew that the cop was a hothead. He was macing people regularly.
Wow. Holy cow.
And then the other dude worked inside, so they were, they weren't in the same. One was like door security, one was like indoor security to like have to haul people out. I think that was George. And but I mean, they worked there for her for a while.
You know what, man? I got to say, if you go to a jury and say these 2 guys worked together for a year and they may not have interacted, I think a reasonable person's going to be like, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on. Well, you worked at
she said she didn't know. That's all I was saying. She wasn't sure if they had interacted, but they both worked there for a year. So come on. You work at a place, you know the people that work there.
Exactly. The point I'm bringing up is she can say she's not sure, but a reasonable person's going to be like, nah. Like if you worked at a big office building.
And then he killed the guy.
Yeah.
Right. Come on.
But that's why I think there may actually be here's the reason I bring this up. There's often these cases where they try and give really harsh charges that never stick. Right. And they wonder why these cops don't get convicted. And they say it's because the system's protecting itself. And it's like, there's a little bit of that maybe.
Or the charges were too vicious.
Yeah, exactly.
That didn't stick because of that. Right.
In a lot of these circumstances, you have a cop who freaks out, kills somebody. And they say, murder. And it's like, first of all, you have to consider that police are trained for lethal situations, which means they're not going out, for the most part, with the intent to actually kill people.
And also, they actually deal with lethal situations.
Right.
No, it's not like it just suddenly sprung on them. They're trained, and they actually have to deal with this a lot. So they go into every situation thinking that, like, I got to be prepared just in case this turns into a lethal situation. So like, you got to look at both sides of that. But the fact that they knew each other.
Right. So here's the point I was making. When it comes to the line of duty, you might be able to get a manslaughter charge, negligent homicide or something like that, depending on your jurisdiction, because you can't ask someone to take a lethal weapon and enter situations where they may die and then call it premeditated murder.
Yeah.
When someone dies.
That's why I was saying it should be manslaughter from the beginning.
No, this shouldn't be.
Well, no, this is before I'm finding out. In the beginning, I was like, it's clearly manslaughter.
At least,
in the least,
right?
It's manslaughter
because
the guy died in his.
And so here's why I would say that you have a responsibility. So with great power comes great responsibility. Yes, I understand. You're entering a situation. You have lethal force. You might use it. It might be wrong. And if you get it really wrong, well, you're still responsible. Someone said this in chat the other day, and it's a common saying. You're responsible for every discharge of your weapon. You're responsible for every bullet and where it ends up.
I think that's true for anyone that is holding a gun in their hands.
Exactly, 100%.
And guess what? The cops still get leeway because we ask them to do it for us.
Right.
In this instance, this dude had a guy with his knee on his neck, not supposed to do that.
Yep.
And he said, don't do that. Everybody in our chat was saying, no way, don't do that. Never supposed. We had a bunch of people in Super Chat who were prison guards. We had law enforcement, military, and they all said, no way, man. We were never told to do that.
And yet, there have been people that are tweeting me in the Minneapolis police book. They have like some statues of that this could be the case. Like you could do this in certain situations.
For kneeling on someone's neck?
Yeah. And it's like,
wow.
I'm like, I can't believe I'm actually reading this, Yeah. I mean, could it have been falsified? Like someone could have like made it up and like put it out there like, look, see, he was doing whatever, So this is all hearsay as far as I'm concerned, but I am seeing that now. And it's like, is that really the case? I don't know.
So
but my point though, is if that is the case, then that's basically them trying to get him off the charges. If they say, well, look, it's in the book. See, he was just following the book that we have written. It's like,
but I'm saying worse than that. I think sometimes you might see trumped up charges as a way to get him off.
Yeah, that's what
So
you're
they're
saying.
right. So you've got a cop who accidentally kills somebody, and it's clearly not going to fall under the statute, and the jury can't convict because it doesn't meet the guidelines.
Right.
So this is what people don't understand when it goes to a jury trial. They say the question the jury has to answer is under say like first degree murder. Did he premeditate and intend to kill this individual? And immediately the jury's like, well, no, of course not.
Right.
That's it, not guilty. So you got to make sure you charge them appropriately.
Yeah.
And it's
definitely.
not. But people like the sound of first degree murder, as opposed to second degree or third degree. They think it just sounds like you're going harder against them. It's like, no, it's just the appropriate charge.
Right, and that's
So-
important. If we're gonna get justice for George, it's like which I want justice for George.
I don't think these other cops should be getting 40-year terms. That to me is crazy. I'm not a fan of what they did. These other cops who were kneeling on his back, they should have known better.
Yep.
And in my opinion, that would be like a manslaughter.
Yeah.
Because they were actually, they were challenging the guy, and he was telling them like basically shut up. So
The other cops were standing there challenging him, like you should get off.
Right. So basically, there's like statements from some documents where the guy's like, one of the cops is like, he's not even resisting anymore, and he's like, so what? Leave him where he is. And they're like, okay. So there's a problem. It is tough. I think 40 years is a bit harsh for people being stupid, but it is fair to point out just following orders is no excuse.
No.
You're kneeling
and
on
people being stupid leading to a death is a little bit different than people being stupid and anything else happening.
Yeah.
But I do
that
think
isn't a death of a human.
Yeah.
I do find 40 years extreme. Like, so we have this.
Well, it says here the most severe charges carry a maximum sentence of 40 years.
Right.
So they wouldn't get 40 years.
There's that story of the two lawyers who apparently threw a Molotov cocktail, and it was like a 30-year-old woman and a 32-year-old guy
Oh yeah, you were telling me about this earlier.
in New York, and they were lawyers, man. They had everything in front of their lives were. That's a great
I know
life.
how the law works.
They had a great life.
Mm-hmm.
Man, they fought so hard. They did everything right. Now they're lawyers.
And then they chose to
one
make
day-
Molotov cocktails
Just
to do what?
I don't know.
So
But the reason I bring that up is these cops who are being charged now and face up to 40 years.
okay.
One day, they walked into work, everything was normal, they probably had a couple donuts and a coffee, and life was great.
Mm-hmm.
In a moment's notice, in a flash, now they're facing prison, they're getting death threats, people are calling for their heads, and their life is forever changed. And that should be a warning to people. You can't take things for granted. You've got to be responsible for yourself. You got to know what you're doing. You got to know what you're getting into. And I take this stuff seriously, man. I get really, really angry when people play stupid games near me.
Yeah.
When I'm in a car and someone's got road rage, I'll shut your mouth.
Yep.
Do not put me in your stupid situation. If it's a lottery ticket chance someone throws a brick at the car, I don't want to
Or
win that
pulls a
lottery.
gun and just starts
Right.
blindly shooting at you.
That's Chicago.
Seriously, yeah.
Those are the Chicago rules.
Yep.
You know, I know too many people in Chicago who would run their mouths, and then what happens is they're shooting on the highway,
Yep.
or getting rammed into, or a fight breaks out, and I'm like,
Or
I
run
don't,
off the road.
I don't-
I almost got run over the road. Some people were crazy. Chicago's crazy, man. It's a crazy place.
I was hanging out with some skateboarders
Mm-hmm.
in the south suburbs, and just because they're stupid moron punks,
Yeah.
this is what really got me away from the more far left anarcho-punk people. They saw some jocks, they said, and so they went and got weapons from their trunk and then chased them off. And I was like, yo, what are you doing? It's like, we were here to skate. Like,
Yeah.
those guys weren't doing anything. And they're like, who cares? They're jocks. And I'm like, I care.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm out of this, man. I'm not gonna hang out with you, man, if you play stupid games. There's no reason to be that. So you see these two lawyers. Stupid games, man. Could you imagine what's going through their mind? Think about this. One day you wake up, you make a pot of coffee, you're hanging out with your friends, you watch I don't know, what's hot on Netflix? Tiger King.
Yeah.
You just finished the final episode, I guess.
No, that was
That was
April.
That was kind of March.
Yeah, that was April.
As well.
All
That
right,
So
so
over.
whatever it is these dumb New York hipsters are doing.
Space Force.
Space Force, is that a show?
I don't know. That just came out.
They're eating pizza.
I haven't given it a shot yet.
They're eating a pizza. These two lawyers, and then they see riots breaking out.
Okay.
And so they're like, yo, let's make some Molotovs, huh? And then they go and do it. And just like that, they drive up in a car, and that one thin line was crossed, and their lives are over. Rightly so.
Yep.
Stupid games, stupid prizes, man.
Yeah, that's how decisions
And so,
work.
I bring it back to this. Like, it's just an idea I've been thinking about with, like, how easily your life will end when you do something dumb.
It's easy to see in the riots.
I wonder if this woman or this man was an unwitting moron. Like the guy drove apparently. I wonder if she was like, come on, let's do this, drive. And he's like, okay. and he just went along with it. I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying you can't, ignore responsibility for what's happening around you. So with these cops, they're getting charged. I'm not surprised.
Yep.
When you are kneeling on someone's back and you say he's not resisting and the guy says, I don't care, you push him off. You see that video where the
Agreed.
cop...
Yeah,
you
you're absolutely right.
You see that video where the cop is kneeling on the guy's neck in the riot and they're screaming, get his knee off his neck, and then the other cop grabs his knee and pulls him off?
Awesome.
Yep, there you go.
I was like, that's how easy it is. Look at that.
Yeah, just like that.
Yeah, you're right.
Arrest the rioter. But these other cops, they were just mindlessly derping along. Oh, my boss said so. Just laying on this guy's back was dying. That's messed up, man.
Yep.
So the medical examiner said that it wasn't strangulation. It was a combination of the restraint and pre-existing medical conditions. And then I guess 2 pathologists concluded that it was pressure on, I guess, the carotid or the arteries to the neck. Basically, it's not strangulation. It's like when you compress
You
someone,
cut the blood off from the brain.
then they die.
Yeah.
And that's what he did.
That's how that works.
So let's talk about. We'll wrap this up with the last point about him knowing him and now second-degree murder.
Now, before we move on from this, though, I do want to ask the question. People are rioting for this, right? Mm-hmm. Now, would these guys, all these cops, I mean, were they going to face these charges anyway? Are people going to
No.
be like, if we didn't riot as crazy as we did, would this have happened? I'm curious,
Yeah.
because
It wouldn't. And you know what?
it wouldn't have happened. They wouldn't have arrested them.
They would not have arrested him.
Not the same.
They wouldn't have arrested him. No.
Okay.
So here's what needs to happen from this point forward.
Mm-hmm.
If I was the mayor of Minneapolis, you know what I'd say?
What?
I'd walk out and I'd say, this man will be arrested and charged based upon the evidence presented in front of us.
Okay.
And we will address the situation brought up to all of us. If there is a riot, he will be released immediately and all charges will be dropped due to conflict of interest. And we will not capitulate to threats of violence from anyone, anywhere. And mark my words, from this day forward, if you ever riot in response to this, we will drop all charges immediately on these officers.
What, and like let them out?
I am exaggerating quite a bit.
Yeah.
But the point I'm trying to make is these people are rioting and the government said, whatever you want. You know what they just told the rioters?
What?
Do it
whatever
again.
you want. Yeah.
Do it again.
Who said that?
The government. The government said, we're so sorry, rioters. You can do whatever you want. And because you did, we will give you what you asked for. You don't negotiate with terror. Look at what's happening with COVID.
But they are.
The law-abiding...
That's what that is then.
Right? The law-abiding citizens who...
Have been staying in for months.
Who shuttered their businesses and then legally went out and said, we want our businesses back.
Or just, I want to go to church.
Yeah. Seriously.
They were smeared and defamed and insulted.
Yeah.
And the people who broke the rules and broke the law were defended. That's what you've learned. And that is a dangerous precedent in our society, that the terror works, man.
Seems
It reminds
like
me of that Star Trek episode where Data asks Picard, if we condemn terrorism, why is it so often that it throughout history it works? And then Data gives him examples, and Picard's like, I don't know. Some of the most difficult questions that we've fought,
that
ourselves.
was a good episode.
It was a real good episode. Yeah, because
Data's
unfortunately, these people know. South Park did that episode where they talked about terrorism, and then in the end, Comedy Central bleeped the whole speech. Because basically he was like, I learned something today, that if you engage in violence and fear and threaten people, they'll give you whatever you want and it works and all this other stuff.
Oh, man.
Yep.
Dangerous thinking.
Yeah. And this is what we're getting out of this. And I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. If they had come out immediately and said, listen, if there's ever an instance where this occurs and you peacefully protest and march to the streets, we will listen. If you riot, we shut it down immediately. We'll let them go. Keep rioting all you want, man. But I'll tell you what, we cannot have a society where you threaten small business owners and regular people, where a 77-year-old retired police chief dies because he got the David Dorn story. He got a call.
Yeah, it's sad.
And he went to check it out, and they killed him for some TVs. Now we have 13 plus people who have died, and they're going, the rioting worked. Oh, that's great. All you had to do was walk over some corpses to get what you wanted. Isn't that great?
Yeah, more people died.
We can't have it, man. So I don't know if the solution actually is to say, well, cut them loose if you riot. But the point I'm making is you can't give the rioters what they want. Then they'll riot more. Because what happened? They rioted and said, here's what we want. So they gave it to them. They rioted more. Okay, we'll up the charges. They rioted more. And then they said, we want first-degree murder. It's like, are we negotiating here, dude?
Is that what's happening?
Yeah, we're negotiating. You're destroying businesses, setting fires across the country, and that's your negotiation?
Killing your own people, too.
Seriously.
Killing people.
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point, Tim.
Fighting to sneeze now. Oof. Anyway, man, I'll wrap it up with this. In foreign countries, Middle East, if an American gets kidnapped, you know what the U.S. government promises?
Dropping the hammer on them.
We promise that a helicopter will fly over where you live and a bunch of commandos will jump down and execute everybody in that facility.
Woo.
That's the promise you get. Those are our deliverables.
Let's do it.
So they don't like kidnapping Americans. Do you know what Germany and Spain say?
What?
We will pay immediately.
Well, then.
So they love kidnapping them. But those people are safe and then they pay for it. No, man. So I went through that hostile environment action, whatever it's called, training.
Yeah.
And they told us straight up that if you are captured and, first and foremost, you have to assess your own situation. Can you escape? Feign illness, whatever. For the most part, however, they said, rest assured, Americans who are kidnapped have an extremely high chance of, extremely high, like in plus 90% percentage of rescue. Because the American government wants it to be known that if American is taken, you are dead. So they don't always, and sometimes it takes a really, really long time. So, depending on who's kidnapped you, whether it's a governmental force or it's randos, like random people, like random terrorists or something.
Yeah,
they're coming for you, and it gets really difficult when it's a government like Iran or Venezuela or North Korea. But when it's journalists, in certain areas, man, I know some people who have been rescued by the State Department.
Really?
It's crazy stuff, dude. I know somebody who was in Libya when the Gaddafi stuff was going down.
Wow. And
the U.S. government sent in a helicopter for him. I'm like, what? And I'm like, just for you? And they were like, they evacuated Americans. Like, they knew that there were some Americans that were there, and they got a bunch of people out.
Huh?
Yeah. And I'm like, that's crazy,
Wow.
man.
That's very
They
cool.
flew you out. So these are stories that I've heard. And some journalists have told me that after kidnappings, like, yeah, they'll send you a helicopter, bro. And these people are worried that someone's going to drop down and it's going to be a bunch of, it's going to be SEAL Team 6. And that's not who you want to meet.
Definitely not.
Not
worth it.
No way.
We do the opposite around country. We tell them, oh, yeah, you burn stuff, you blow it up. Yeah, all right, we got you. We'll give you what you want.
Huh.
It's a horrifying lesson to the law-abiding citizens of this country who've lost their businesses and the loved ones of people like, David Dorn, for instance.
Yeah.
Who now have to see the suffering. Meanwhile, in the media, they praise it. Chris Cuomo praises it. These people are gross.
Chris Cuomo's a joke.
Yup. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. If you want to catch the full show, tune in to this channel, subscribe, hit the like button, or check us out on iTunes and Spotify, and we will soon have this podcast up for free on all podcast platforms. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all in the next episode.